Okay.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Q&A section of your rabbit course. And we have with us today the lovely Liz Cox. Liz is a veterinary nurse and she is also a behaviourist, and has a degree in animal welfare.
Animal behaviour and welfare.
Thank you.
Pleasure. It's actually a master's. Bigging myself up.
Well, you do, obviously we should. We need to big ourselves up. No
I,
other bugger
I
does.
did the work. Exactly,
Exactly. Yeah, too right. Um, and Liz is also very passionate about rabbit care and a lot of the misconceptions and things that we have around rabbits. So, obviously, all of her links are below. And we're going to crack on, and I'm going to ask you lots of questions about rabbits.
Yay.
We were doing rabbit impressions just
We
before
were.
we came on. If you're lucky, you might see them. But
If you're
oh,
unlucky, you might see them.
that's more like it. That's more like it. Um, so what is the biggest misconception that people have about rabbits?
I think it's that they are a cute, cuddly, easy pet to have. Um, Rabbits have been, portrayed as quite kind of fun characters, I think, in the media, on TV, all that kind of stuff. Bugs Bunny, Peter Rabbit, Jessica Rabbit, even the Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny is this fun character that rocks up at Easter, giving us chocolate eggs and all this kind of stuff. But actually, let's just think about what a rabbit is in the wild. A rabbit that's not a domestic rabbit. They're a prey animal. They're the end of the line when it comes to food for many, many animals. Rabbits are herbivores. They don't eat any other animals. So they obviously need to live a life where they are very cognizant of what is around them, threats, dangers coming from above, coming from everywhere. They live in a burrow. That's where they feel safe. They live with other rabbits. They feel safe with other rabbits because they can give each other signals and warnings, and everybody runs away. If you've ever sat quietly on a summer's evening and watched the rabbits come out in a field, and it's just amazing to see, and they're all hopping around and they're foraging and eating, and then somebody will sound the alarm, usually a thump of the feet or something like that, and they'll all just go like that, literally, click of your fingers, because they know they're alert to that danger and they're down there in their burrows. They eat mainly grass, dandelions, all that kind of stuff. And really, most of the time, actually, unless it's a very quiet area, apart from sunrise and sunset, we shouldn't really be seeing that many rabbits around because, again, being out in the daylight, all that kind of thing, it's dangerous for them. If we are seeing rabbits out at that time, the chances are they've got, unfortunately, myxomatosis. But yeah, so they're a group animal. They live together. They live underground. They need to feel safe. They have a lot of predators. And the life that our domestic bunnies have is very different to that.
Yeah. No, there's such good points. And I think I mean, this is what Atticus is all about, really, is that we're so conditioned to think a certain way about animals, aren't we? And it's not, I know when I started learning about animals sort of on more of this level, I actually felt quite a lot of guilt because I'd definitely let animals down in the past, and I'm sure that I'll in 5 years' time look back and go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, because we continue to learn, don't we? And we, things continue to develop, and and yeah, it's really sad because yeah, I can imagine they spend a lot of time being, very ultra aware and, having to deal with those, I can imagine they have so many heightened senses to kind
Mm,
of be able to pick up on all of those things.
yeah.
And
I mean, take the ears, take bunny ears. Why are bunny ears? Here you go, rabbit impression. But why are they big, tall,
just
and
the,
able to do
it's
all
just
of
the
this?
rabbit and pheasant one.
Yeah, exactly. Because they need to hear all of that stuff. That's why they've got big ears,
Yeah,
not just because it looks cute.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very sad. Um, so in veterinary practice, what were the most common issues you saw with rabbits that came in that could be avoided, that could be easily avoided,
Yeah,
just to sort of
yeah.
not people understanding?
So I think one of the most common ones was rabbit teeth. So a lot of domestic rabbits are a little bit inbred. So a rabbit like us should have jaws that align. And that, when they're eating, helps to wear their teeth down. Now, rabbits' teeth constantly grow, particularly the two at the front from the top and the two at the front from the bottom. And if those teeth don't meet, then if rabbits got an overbite or an underbite, then those teeth are going to keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. And they've got to be snipped off, because otherwise the teeth are basically going to grow past the jaw and start to curl under. But the back teeth as well. So the back teeth of the rabbit, they get these little spurs on, and those have to be clipped off as well. And the reason that rabbits have so many problems with their teeth is basically the commercial diet that they're fed as pets. And as I mentioned previously, rabbits mainly eat grass and dandelions, weeds, that kind of thing, straw, hay. They're foragers. What we feed them as a domestic pet doesn't wear their teeth down. So a lot of them come in and have to have their teeth clipped. Now, we don't traditionally in practice sedate them to have that done. I mean, it's quite a brutal thing.
Wow.
Basically, we put a thing in their jaw to prise their mouth open and keep it open. The vet will then take an otoscope, which is what we actually usually use to look down an animal's ears. They will then use the otoscope to look in the back to see what's going on. They will then, in effect, take like a little pair of kind of surgical pliers type things and snip off the spurs off the back teeth. And with the front ones, they'll use a dental drill to wear those teeth down. Now, it doesn't cause actual physical pain, because the in enamel, the way the tooth is made, then we don't go right down to the sensitive bit. But that rabbit is still there.
Still a huge thing to go through, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a massive thing to go through. And they don't really like most rabbits don't really like being handled. So, having to be restrained, have their mouth prized open like that is incredibly stressful for them.
Yeah.
And it could be so easily avoided. But that leads me on to, I think, the second biggest problem, which is obesity in rabbits. So because the rabbits are not getting the exercise, because they're being fed on inappropriate diets that actually are too high in sugar, really, even carrots are very high in sugar. They don't eat carrots in the wild, rabbits. Might eat the carrot pods.
No, it's really interesting. Carrots are such a common thing for so many pets, like even dogs, it's and don't get me wrong, like, in moderation, they're great.
Yeah.
And they can kind of, but people go a little bit overboard and forget how sugary they are.
Yeah. Absolutely, exactly. And again, they're not a natural thing for a bunny to eat. Bunnies will eat them, of course they will, but they're not a natural thing. And because of this, they end up getting the lack of exercise, and the inappropriate diet leads to the rabbit getting fat. Now, you'll quite often see domestic bunnies with a big ruff under here, which is it's called their dewlap. And I'm going to have to talk about poo. I'm sorry, we do like to talk about poo, don't we?
Like our favourite topic, Liz. Yes,
it is our favourite topic. So rabbits. With the rabbit digestion is quite complicated. Rabbits actually eat the first droppings that they produced, which are a very soft dropping. They ingest that then goes back in for a second go through the digestive system, and out comes what we see as a traditional rabbit pellet, which is the hard little ball of kind of brownie with a bit of straw in it and stuff like that. If a rabbit has got a big dewlap, they can't bend round to get to their bottom to eat that first set of droppings.
Wow.
And that then leads on to another medical problem, which is a shitty bum, a pooey bum. And in the summer, when the flies come, the flies are attracted to the pooey bottom. They then lay their eggs, those turn into maggots, and we end up with fly strike. And fly strike is
it's horrendous.
It is horrific. The maggots actually eat away at the rabbit's skin down there, which is very tender anyway, because obviously it's all around the genitalia, but they burrow into the body. Oh, I've seen so many awful cases of fly strike, and it is heartbreaking.
Yeah, I've seen it in sheep a lot because of growing up on a farm, obviously. Well, not a lot actually, because we don't, but I've seen it, and it's just...
Yeah, it's horrific. And a lot of rabbits, it's so bad they end up having to be put to sleep because the maggots have destroyed part of their anatomy. So those two things, so the teeth, and then obviously being too fat to be able to actually do what they need to do to get those soft droppings and process them through into the non-sticky hard droppings, which are the preferable ones, or ones they should be producing. And then in turn, those sticky droppings get stuck around the rabbit's bottom, caught up in the fur, attracts the flies lay the eggs, and then we've got fly strike.
And I can imagine, I mean, all of those are so linked, aren't they? Because if
Yeah.
you know, if they're not getting that, if they're not eating their first poo, then they're not absorbing all the nutrients they need, are they? So
No,
if they're overweight, they're going to be putting pressure on their joints, which is going to cause more early sort of arthritis and
absolutely.
joint issues and things. So they're all just, you know, and this is just through not having the right diet. I mean, really,
Yeah,
all of that can be avoided by just having a decent diet.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely can
So,
be avoided. Yeah.
and most
What
of
we
their diet in domestic settings is hay. Am I right? Is that what they should be
in a
getting
domestic setting,
in a domestic
well,
setting?
if
What's
you go
the
in, if you go into Pets at Home or somewhere like that, and you see the amount of rabbit food available, most people unfortunately tend to buy what we would call a muesli for their rabbit, which is
yeah,
a bowl of coloured different things. It's a mixture of like split peas, bit dried carrot, bit this, bit that, blah, blah. That is a very inappropriate diet for a rabbit because rabbits will selectively feed. So they'll pick out the bits they like and they'll leave the rest. What's better is a pellet, which has got everything it needs in it. So when a rabbit eats the pellet, it's probably getting 80% of what it needs nutritionally. And then to top that up, they should be given a good quality hay, something like Timothy hay, or you can buy hay. I would always buy the hay properly treated in a bag. Don't just go and get farmer's hay because it won't have been treated. It's going to be
yeah,
full of
yeah,
bugs and mites and all
absolutely.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. Even though the rabbit will eat it, it's what you're bringing into the rabbit's environment with that. So basically, hay and rabbit pellets is what your rabbit should be eating with some additional greens. But again, we need to be specific about what we're talking about with those greens. And it really should be greens as opposed to other vegetables. So again, we want to be staying away from carrots and pepper and all that kind of stuff. That is not good for bunnies.
It's
And having
most
maybe,
animals really, I'm finding most mammals, like even with dogs, like
yeah,
yes, carrots, peppers are great, but actually we should be leafy green veg, and for us,
mm,
you know,
yeah,
larger proportions of leafy green veg, and then the root vegetables are smaller a portion, a bit like fruit and that because of the high sugar contents.
yeah, absolutely. Rabbits don't need to eat fruit. Rabbits don't eat, I don't think, I'm not aware of rabbits eating fruit
No,
in
I
their
haven't come
wildest part of
across
their natural
anything
diet.
that no.
No. And then again, when we see these pictures of, who's the famous bunny in oh the lady's name is escaping. She used to write all the little wildlife books. It's on the tip of my tongue. Lived up in the Lake
Not
District.
Beatrix Potter. We're not.
Yeah, her,
Oh, right,
her.
right, okay, yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So like her wildlife, her bunnies, everything, her hedgehogs, everything, they're all brought to life, aren't they? If you look in Beatrix Potter's books, then the bunnies are all they're wearing dresses and they've got a little cute bonnet on and they're carrying a little basket around and it's full of like maybe is that
Peter Rabbit.
oh bless, oh bless. But in this basket is the most inappropriate vegetables ever for
They're
rabbits.
just in our
Okay.
garden, aren't they? So they're taking
Yeah,
all the naughty things. Yeah.
yeah. But that's, and they do, they are, if you've got an allotment, you'll know for sure that when you've been bunnied. But generally they'll go for the green stuff.
Yeah, yeah, they eat the tops of a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, don't they? Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're lucky enough in this country to be able to grow peppers, aubergines, and stuff like that, if you've got a greenhouse or something, your rabbits are not going, they're not going to eat your
No, no, they're
tomatoes,
not.
quite frankly. They're not
No.
going to eat your peppers, you're not going to eat your aubergines or anything like that, because that's not their diet.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
They eat
really, we should be
tops.
feeding them good quality hay. Timothy hay is great, and we should be feeding them on a pellet. I don't want to name names of particularly of rabbit food producers, but Burgess do a good pellet.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We do Burgess in there. And actually it was interesting when I was doing some research, because obviously nutrition is always where my brain goes with every every animal I look in, is the rotation of hays is actually a
Mm.
good fit. Like as you were saying, like the good hays, not the, the treated stuff, but actually rotating because each hay is going to
Yeah,
have different stuff in it from different places. So,
yeah,
possibly have like different nutrients and minerals and stuff.
absolutely. There's good quality hay. There's poor quality hay.
Yeah, and it's
You
going to
know,
change throughout the year, isn't it, as well?
yeah,
Because hay changes quality throughout the year for all of our
yeah,
animals. So yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So interesting. We're going to get you back. I am going to do a deep dive into the nutrition of kind of rabbits and things. So we will have you back for that as well, without doubt.
Okay.
Um, So, should rabbits and guinea pigs be kept together?
No, absolutely not. No. Rabbits should live with other rabbits. Guinea pigs should live with other guinea pigs. Now, yeah, very rarely you might get a companion pair that get on well, but generally speaking, rabbits will bully guinea pigs. It's not a good mix. Also, again, they've got slightly different nutritional needs. So your guinea pig can eat the greater variety. Guinea pigs cannot produce their own vitamin C, so they need to have vegetables and fruit that have got more vitamin C, they've got vitamin C in, so that they're constantly getting it.
Yeah.
Rabbits don't need that. So again, you've got this variation in diet, and generally then what you'll find with the rabbits and if you've got them in together, how do you know who's eating what? How do you know that, the guinea pig's getting what the guinea pig needs and the rabbit's not like troughing what the guinea pig should have? No. I hear so many stories of poor guinea pigs being bullied by rabbits.
They
No,
can
not.
actually be killed by rabbits, can't they? Like a kick from a rabbit can
Oh my
actually
God,
kill them.
absolutely.
Yeah,
The
I didn't know
power
that
in a
until
rabbit's
yesterday.
legs. Oh yeah, the power in a rabbit's legs.
Yeah,
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 yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
And you do see
rabbits,
it a lot,
they
don't
bite.
you?
Yeah, rabbits bite too. Trust me, they
Yeah.
bite. I've been bitten by a rabbit.
Yeah,
It
I
hurts.
am. From what I've seen, sort of rabbits are sort of. I hate using the word aggressive because they're not aggressive. They communicate in different ways.
They
To they
can
are
be.
more.
Well, yeah, but they can be
They
aggressive.
are more aggressive in there than guinea pigs. Guinea pigs tend to be a lot
Oh,
more docile,
totally.
aren't they? I mean, guinea
Yeah.
pigs are not really known to bite, whereas we do
No.
know that rabbits, do often if they're unhappy, they'll give
Yeah,
they'll give you a nip and let you know about it. Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Guinea
So,
guinea pigs will more likely withdraw into themselves and not
yeah.
socialize and isolate. They very, very rarely bite. Like you say, they're kind of almost like the peacekeepers of the animal
Yeah.
world, really. They
Yeah.
just want to run around weaking and eating.
Yeah.
But no, rabbits do bite and they kick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so important, isn't it? Because people do tend to think that it's okay to put them together. So,
Yeah. No,
um,
absolutely
are rabbits good starter pets for children?
not. No, no, I hate this, and it breaks my heart when I go into somewhere like, Pets at Home that are still legally allowed to sell rabbits. And, the setups, to be fair, the setups that they have for them in Pets at Home are not the worst.
They've got
However, they
better
then
over the years, but yeah,
have, definitely. But they then sell a solo rabbit to somebody with a kid as a starter pet, goes home with a hutch. And this is the expectation of that rabbit's life, that the rabbit goes in a hutch, the rabbit lives in the hutch. Maybe it comes out for a little bit during the day if it's lucky. And fundamentally, it's going to be this nice, cuddly, fluffy thing that's just going to sit on the kiddie's lap and be petted and stroked and everything. And that is so far removed from the truth and what a rabbit is and what a rabbit needs. No, they are the worst starter pets. A guinea pig would be a better starter pet, to be honest. Or perhaps actually, really, I think if people are going to get a starter pet, something like a cat is a better starter pet, or
yeah. I
even
mean,
or even a dog.
I think again, like it's that reshaping sort of, I guess any animal is okay to get a pet with a child if the adult is going to be the one that is
Yeah,
responsible for that animal's care. You
yeah,
cannot expect a child to look after an animal because they're just not going to. They will get bored. I did when I was animal mad. And
yeah,
I still got bored with the rabbit that I had or whatever when I was younger, and I feel awful now. I look back and I was like, I was so neglectful to that rabbit, but
yeah.
I was that age where there were so many other things going on that I didn't understand how to look after that rabbit properly.
No.
So yeah, I mean any animal should be the adult animal that we teach the children how to be
Yeah.
appropriate around animals. I mean, that's really sort of the best lesson, isn't it? For
And they're hard because if you are the adult in charge of that rabbit for your child, you've got to clean that rabbit out on an at least weekly basis. Actually, really should be cleaning out on a much, much more frequent
more
basis.
regulate,
But
yeah.
also, there's then meeting that rabbit's needs and handling the rabbit really, because the adult should be doing that, not the child. Um, I mean, that said, rabbits in the right environment can be fabulous pets. I know a lot of house rabbits who are very, very happy rabbits. And I know a lot of again, outdoor pet rabbits who are very outdoor, but they belong to adults.
Yeah.
Adults have chosen to take the rabbits on in their lives and they are giving them what they need. They're not getting them as a pet for their child. And you're so right. Yeah, you cannot expect a child to be responsible for an animal at all. I had gerbils growing up. We had gerbils, and we did, look after them. And it was mine and my brother's job to clear them out. We can imagine who did most of that. But I didn't look forward to it. It'd be like, oh God, it's a weekend. I've got to clean the gerbils out. I loved having the gerbils, but I hated doing the husbandry
Yeah. Yeah.
because I
Yeah,
was
well,
a
that's
kid.
the thing. Even as an adult, we don't particularly like doing it, but we have a better sense of responsibility as we get older, don't we? So we
Yeah,
understand the needs better. So,
yeah,
we become better at that.
yeah.
And I think
And
with the,
that's why I don't have a rabbit in my life at the moment, because my life is not geared up to have a rabbit.
yeah, 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 they are. I mean, any pet, isn't it? And I think with what you were saying about the pet shops as well, Liz, I know, I always worry sort of, if for one, we've got prey animals again in a shop, like in any shop, is that
Yeah,
fair on a prey animal? That
no,
there's things walking around, like
yeah,
it's this constant sort of, what might get us.
yeah,
And I can imagine some socialize better than others, but you're always going to get the ones that aren't comfortable in those situations or put in those situations. I always think as well, people go home at night, like you're in a shop. They're not, how are they getting, they can't have the 24-hour care that all of our pets should be
no,
getting.
yeah, absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely,
if I hear Widget, my rat, in the night, I hear her. I hear if she needs something or if there's
yeah,
something wrong. Nobody's going to hear him in a pet shop, are they?
no,
And also I always think that it's kind of encouraging that impulse buying as well. People just walking around
yeah.
the pet shop.
P111,
Yeah,
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 absolutely. And you can hear it, you can see, the kids, oh, little fluffy bunny, blah, blah, blah. And what I think for me makes it the hardest thing is that, actually that rabbit might be happy-ish in that setup, even if it is in a shop and all that kind of stuff. But then that rabbit is being taken as a solo rabbit. Rabbits shouldn't be solo creatures,
no,
taken away and is now a solo creature. How boring is life for most domestic rabbits?
yeah,
Oh my God, insanely boring. All right, rabbits are not the brightest creatures, really. When we look at intelligence, as you know, we look at the size of the brain compared to the body, and rabbits have very small heads compared to their body size. So yeah, they're not super intelligent, but they're still driven by emotion and desire and need and that genetic need to have a normal life and do the things and be the things that rabbits should be. They
that's
cannot do
such
that
a
in a
good
domestic
point.
environment.
I think so many people think of intelligence as kind of a level of how much we might suffer or, and I mean, I've worked with people with extreme
Mm.
learning disabilities, people that are almost, they're not able to do much at all.
No,
They're just as emotional as you and me.
absolutely.
They may not be
Absolutely.
cognitively, able to do the same things as we are, but emotionally they
Yeah,
hurt deep. And this
absolutely.
is the thing with animals, is just because they haven't got a cognitive brain
Mm.
doesn't mean that they haven't got the emotions and I think that's a really big misconception, isn't it? That they're not going to suffer as much if they can't think about it as much or,
Exactly. But that said, rabbits are not stupid by any means. You can train rabbits.
yeah,
You
I've
know,
seen rabbits being
you
sort
can,
of trained to, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. There's like little rabbit agility and stuff like that that goes on. I mean, it's amazing. But also, if you have a house rabbit, you can train your house rabbit to use a litter tray. Now that's not a stupid animal. You
No,
know, they're not as bright as cats and dogs. No, they haven't got to, when they go to eat, they haven't got to think very hard about eating. They just basically kind of pretty much eat what's in front of them because they're in a field and they come out and there's grass. Woohoo, brilliant.
yeah,
It's not a
they
complex
don't
job.
need that cognitive thing to be able to go and hunt. Yeah, yeah,
No, exactly. Because also they need to be able to feed and get back to the burrow if some danger appears from somewhere. So again, it's functional, isn't it? But
yeah,
that doesn't mean to say that they don't think, they do. They do think. Obviously, they alert all of the other rabbits to danger if the danger's about. Everyone knows what to do. They're still capable of breeding, raising young, all that kind of stuff. They're not So they're not stupid.
And that again is, it's the same thing. And that's what's always, had this thing of putting us on a pedestal as humans. And actually, intelligence is relative, isn't it? It's
Mm.
intelligence is relative to what we need as a species to survive. So,
Yes,
what is intelligence really when we start breaking it down? Because rabbits have got much better smell than us, you know,
absolutely. And for the life that they live, they are way better
they're
equipped.
a
And
lot
I've
better at
got
it than we are. Yeah,
absolutely. If we were rabbits, oh my God, I think half of us would be dead on day one.
absolutely. Yeah, they
We'd be
really,
like,
really
noise?
would.
What? Where's
Yeah,
that coming from? What? Oh, that's dumb. Now I'm in somebody's jaws or
yeah,
claws and I'm
yeah, yeah. Well, like you
away.
were earlier, where's my glasses?
Yeah, exactly. God, still don't know where they are.
Okay, so how much space do rabbits actually need? So, what type of setups are we looking at for being
Yeah, so
appropriate rabbit?
rabbits need as much space really as you can afford to give them. And again, when you think about how a rabbit lives, they come out of their burrow and they'll go and look for their food, forage for their food. And some of them might go quite a long way. If it's safe and there's no alert to danger or whatever, then there's no reason at all why they can't travel a reasonable distance. They certainly have the physical capability to do that. What breaks my heart is, as I say, the rabbit in a cage with no other alternative for exercise. Rabbits should not be in cages. Yes, they should have a safe place to go and hide
Like their
and
burrow
sleep.
going and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But really, what they need is a reasonable sized pen, and I'm gonna say at least 6 by 4. Even that, I think, is potentially a little bit small. Really, probably more like 8 by 6 is better, with all the things in there that the rabbit needs, and that's not going to come cheap because the wiring that you need to have to protect the rabbit from foxes and other predators has got to be quite small gauge and very strong. Plus, it needs to be dug into the ground because, of course, rabbits dig. Um, One of the things that often can work quite well for rabbits is having those old clay pipes that they used to use for drains and having those kind of dug a little bit into the garden so the rabbits can make themselves a little burrow. And again, having that hideaway. But again, one of the problems with this is that when you've got a run or a pen set up like that, the grass isn't going to last forever. And the rabbits really ideally need to be maybe on a little bit of having a little bit of hard standing and grass as well, because grass is what they would naturally be on. How do you maintain that grass in a rabbit enclosure? It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah,
So ideally, something that can rotate.
that can
So
be
you've
moved
got a
around.
bit of grass over there, and then when that grass is done, or if we have a bad winter like we've had this winter, where my garden still looks like something from the First World War trenches,
Mine does
um,
now, my dogs have been in it, but
well, yeah,
yes, yeah,
exactly. But something where you can rotate it and give the grass a chance to recover and renew, and then pop the bunny back in there. So actually, as much space as you can afford to. Now, house rabbits, obviously, if you can give them, pretty much freedom of the whole house, then that's a good thing to do. But again, we have to think about dangers in the house and wires, TV wires, all that kind of stuff. Bunnies will bite through them. They will. They don't know that they're
yes.
wires.
I have a free roaming rat, and
Yeah.
it's not always as
No.
not many people would put up with what we put up with, to be quite
Yeah,
honest.
I can totally imagine. I
Yeah,
can. I mean, I've seen the destruction and damage that rats can do, and rabbits the same. But equally as well, we need to bear in mind that it's a potential danger to them. If they're
yeah,
chewing through something electric, potentially going to electrocute
yeah,
themselves.
absolutely.
They can be rabbits can be really quite destructive,
Yeah,
really quite
yeah,
destructive, and they also kind of need things. If you're going to have a house rabbit, there's got to be things in the house for the rabbit to entertain the rabbit that it can play with, and rabbits will play with balls and my rabbits used to have flower pots. They used to love chucking the flower pots up in the air. But
I suppose you can
fundamentally,
bring in like sort of things for them to eat, couldn't you? For I was talking to a
yeah,
lady the other day, and you could have trays where you grow sort of things for them to forage in and stuff indoors, couldn't you? I mean, with
absolutely,
any of our
yeah,
animals like that. I mean,
yeah,
I actually do it with Widget, and I mean, being a rat, she doesn't really need it in the same. I mean, rats do eat anything pretty much. But she loves the foraging. If I do give her sort of herbs and that, and even just the soil in it, she loves sort of kicking up
yeah.
all the soil and making a mess.
Absolutely. Because that's what she would naturally do.
Yeah.
when she was looking for food. But I suppose if we're talking, bare minimum space, there should be enough space for that bunny to hop, jump, and when I say hop, not just one hop, hop about. And if you've ever watched a happy bunny, they do frolic, as it were. They
Yeah.
will jump and twist in the air. Yeah, they love kind of leaping and jumping about and stuff like that. So there should be space for the bunny
Able
to
to
do
do that.
that. The other thing about if anyone is thinking of building themselves a fantastic super rabbit enclosure, make sure it's got a roof, because the threats for rabbits don't just come from the ground. Birds of prey, that's one of the big things that is a predator for a bunny. They'll just swoop down, grab the bunny, and fly off.
I mean, we know that. I mean, there was a seagull, I think it was a couple of years ago, wasn't it, that killed that chihuahua, that took the chihuahua.
Yes,
So, I
yeah,
mean, even a
yeah,
dog can be taken by birds. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
where I live, we have a lot of swans and ducks and things on a brook that runs through my town, and the seagulls will quite often take the babies, the
yeah,
little ducklings and the cygnets and everything, and they're very small.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of dangers from above, aren't there? Which I
Yeah.
suppose actually leads very nicely into our next one, which is how much should we be handling and picking up rabbits? And I was talking to Sally because we've just done the guinea pig one, and I hadn't even really thought about it before, but any of our prey animals, like having that hand coming down, is exactly like the bird coming down on top of you, isn't it? It's
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So basically, rabbits were not made to be handled. Now, obviously, a little bit like many animals that have been domesticated, they now have the genes where they can tolerate that. But I think with rabbits, it's one of those things, a little bit like we're seeing with or saying with dogs now, is we should let the rabbits approach us rather than us approaching them. Because again, going towards a prey animal is threatening. And this is where we start to see aggression coming out in bunnies. And it's not because they want to be aggressive, but it's defensive aggression. They're protecting
yeah,
themselves. They've got nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And then these hounds come and grab them. And that must be so scary for so many bunnies. So bunnies need to really take time to get to know us. Now, they can be amazingly affectionate. Bunnies can actually end up living with dogs and cats and cuddling up together, all that kind of thing. And even with us, some and bunnies will come and lie on us and go to sleep, but it should be on their terms, not on our terms. We should never really go and just pick that rabbit up. I mean, there are times when we do have to handle them, but again, the advice is as well, don't just silently creep up on them and grab them. Talk to them, let them know that you're coming. So the rabbit is alert. The rabbit will know your voice. If the rabbit has lived with you, it will know your voice. It will know that that's fine. Just talk, say, hi, I'm coming to, I'm going to pick you up now. And then just go gently and make sure that the rabbit is happy to be picked up. Or better still, if necessary, have like a cat carrier or something like that, and kind of scoot, work the bunny into it, not by touch, but we can just gently move them into
yeah,
it. And then they're in the carrier, we can shut the door and we know that they're safe in the carrier, and we can either take them to the vet or wherever it is that we're wanting to move the bunny to. Um, and they do have to, in a way, get used to being handled as well, because if you think about all the different bunnies that we now breed, these long haired ones, lion heads, all that kind of stuff, there is a certain amount of grooming and brushing that will need to go on, and husbandry in terms of checking claws, because again, if our bunnies haven't been given the exercise that they need, their claws are going to grow long and we're going to need to clip those claws like we do with dogs. And again, we can either take them to the vet and have that done by an expert, or we can get them used to being handled and having it done with us. And there's no reason as a tool, if we find something that, the bunny likes, why they can't have like a licky mat or something like that, almost, like a foraging item, while we then can, clip a claw. But we can almost, back claws for sure, we can try and do without even having to pick the bunny up, really. You can just sort of, while they're eating something, snip it. But the front claws are harder. So again, it's just getting the bunny used to being handled. And quite often the way to do that can sometimes just be to have the brush on a bit of a handle so that your hands are not too close to the bunny, so the bunny isn't feeling threatened by the hands. And if there is an aggressive incident and the bunny does feel uncomfortable about the brush, it's only biting the brush and it's not biting us
yeah,
and destroying that relationship, as it were.
yeah, yeah. We have got Victoria Shepherd has done a counter conditioning and desensitization around grooming, and it is for dogs, but it's very much games based and, you know, force free based and consent based. And actually, everything she's done, we can do with our guinea pigs and our rats and our rabbits. It's all, so that's going to be in our husbandry course. So
Yeah,
if
perfect.
people are struggling with that, okay, it's not specifically for rabbits, but actually it will work.
Mm.
It will work for
Yeah,
rabbits as well. You know, it
absolutely. I mean, I have to admit, I've never clicker trained a rabbit, but I don't see why you couldn't clicker train a rabbit to
yeah,
actually
absolutely. Well,
to
they clicker
be
train chickens. I mean, yeah,
exactly. So
yeah,
I reckon you could use clicker training like we do with dogs and stuff like that to let them know that something's okay and that they've, done the right
yeah,
thing and all that kind of stuff. I think we could potentially, use that with
yeah,
rabbits. There are
absolutely.
probably people out there who do rabbit grooming who will have a better understanding, but no, basically we should not be handling them really unless we have to. And if we know we're going
Yeah.
to have to, then we should go in gently, and particularly
Teach
rescue
them that
rabbits.
it's safe. Teach them that it's a safe
Yeah,
thing instead of, you know, not
absolutely.
just being constantly scooped up and grabbed and yeah,
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 totally.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much,
My
Liz. I
pleasure.
could
My
ask you
pleasure.
questions about bunnies all day, to be honest. But
I could talk about bunnies all day. You make me, I'm making myself want one now, but I'm like,
Oh, I know. Researching all of these animals and it's awful. I could, yeah, well, that's
yeah.
my
I mean,
retirement dream, a sanctuary.
I've had a lot of bunnies. Most of them have all been rescued bunnies and stuff. And then, my lifestyle changed, and it wasn't practical for me to have bunnies. But maybe going forward, when things change again, I'll be able to take on a couple of rescue bunnies and,
Yeah.
give them a decent bunny life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
My
I think
pleasure.
people may have seen our communication where we're looking at videos talk by the time that they've. But if you haven't, if you're watching this on YouTube or anything, Liz is in the free rabbit course because it is a free course that you can learn lots more about rabbits and see Liz again talking about bunny communication. So we hope to see you there.